Thanks, listeners, for joining us. Today's Elko Live is our edition in which we feature Elko City news and issues. This is what we like to do on Tuesdays, and we so appreciate our city manager, Jan Baum, is here with our City Financial Services Director, Julie Davis. We'll talk about the budget, the audit for the fiscal year ending in 2024. But Jan, thank you also for sharing the program. I know the Elko Convention Center really appreciated being here last week.
Oh, yes, of course. And it was such a great time for them to be part of it. They have so many things going right now. And so I'm glad they were able to share, and we might as well promote our community as a whole.
Yes, and they certainly felt that, and we were able to work in all kinds of exciting things, as you said, plans for rebranding the e-center. And
right, they have some big plans coming up, and then they're refinancing, and so there's just it's exciting over there, and they're really promoting our community as a whole, and we really appreciate that. And I think they include the airport in a lot of their marketing as well, which of course we appreciate. I always have to give that plug.
Oh yeah, we've been giving the airport some business, Jim Foster. So our family has. So sure appreciate that as well. Jan, it was great to hear good news about the emplanements, and I'm just going there this weekend, picking up, dropping off. The parking lot seemed really full.
Yes, and that's what Jim Foster uses the parking lot a lot to track how full the airport is, or how full the airplanes are, and it's a good tracker to watch the parking lot. Boy, I can't talk today.
You are going to be just fine.
I do want to say that, and we haven't had council approve this grant yet, but FAN was the Flight Alliance of Northeastern Nevada was a great partner and vital in the Elko Regional Airport getting awarded a SCASD grant, it's called. It's Small Community Air Development Service. And this grant, I believe they gave like $12 or $14 million throughout the entire United States. And the city of Elko received $800,000, and that will help us get a midday flight going. And specifically worded in some of the documents was that private-public partnership was vital to getting that grant. So we're super excited, and that'll help us get that midday flight going. And so actually next week we're going for a meeting with SkyWest. I believe that Rex Steninger and Reese Keener and Jim and I are going to go talk to SkyWest and start the plans for when to implement that. And so we're super excited to get that midday flight going. I think it'll really help a lot of businesses in town. And so fly Elko.
Yes, fly Elko. Even if you think it's a bit pricey, sit down, think about how valuable your time is, how much it is now just for airport parking in Salt Lake. It's incredibly expensive.
And the motel, if you have to stay overnight, it's just outrageous nowadays.
It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And so the more we fly, the less likely that we'll have to pay as much in the future. I mean, it's numbers. The numbers drive the numbers.
Absolutely. They absolutely do. And the community has responded just in amazing ways, and we just can't say thank you enough. And the planes, I want to say we're averaging 65 to 73% load factors, which means the plane is, fairly full. And I think since we went to this 50-passenger CRJ 550, it's just the perfect size for our community. And then actually last night at the fan meeting, I was told that it looks like they are bringing in a second plane at the end of Cowboy Poetry, to help get everybody home. So that's great for our community as well.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, I'm talking to Poetry Gathering organizer, manager Callie Greenhaw just over the weekend. She said, this gathering is huge. It's the 40th, so there's so much interest in it.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just such a great event for our community, and a perfect timing for it. It just gives everybody a little burst in the middle of winter when we're all in depression mode
Yeah.
from all the darkness and the cold. So it's an absolutely great event. Plus,
Oh.
it's fun.
It is. It's
Great.
so much fun. It's so entertaining. And this year will be a huge reunion again of the 40th. They have gone way back to get some of the original performers, entertainers, personalities.
What a
So,
gift.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That we have those people and we can appreciate them. So stay tuned for more on that. So, Jan, I mean, that's a good segue. We can come back and talk more about what's on the agenda. The council does meet at 4 o'clock today, but I saw Julie nodding, and she's going to tell us about the City of Elko's Fiscal Year 2024 audit. But I also suspect that Julie knows a lot about how sales and use taxes, and that comes with entertainment and tourism, really can help to drive the local economy. Is that right, Julie?
Yeah, so we have an audit presentation on council agenda tonight, and the auditors will present a presentation on our FY24 audit report. Happy to say it was a clean audit, and our ending fund balance was within $400,000 about of what we budgeted to start the current fiscal year on. So that puts us right on track for our current budget.
Yeah, so, and honestly, that's a great achievement.
It is.
So,
It really is.
As a percentage of the entire budget, Julie did an amazing job first year that she did our budget, and this is her first audit as well, and she did just a great job. We're just so thankful to have her. So, and nice that the city is in, it's in good standing, and a great segue to start planning for some capital projects that we have on the horizon, and just, in a great position to start planning.
That is great. So the clean opinion means no significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, or non-compliance. Again, congratulations, Julie. If you have any staff, congratulations to them as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate hearing that. And then again, some of the highlights that you're going to be able to talk about today include our governmental fund spending, the proprietary funds, and that would include those enterprise funds, right?
Yeah, water, sewer, golf, and landfill.
All right. And then a review of our fund balance and net position. So those are really the areas that probably mean the most to the community if you balance your own checkbook, or if that's even a phrase anymore. But those are the things that we look out for too in our own family, like it's depreciation. You got to have money set aside to replace your vehicle or your water heater or do basic maintenance, things like that. So let's start maybe with our governmental funds. What would you like us to know, Julie?
Well, our biggest one is the general fund. It had $26.5 million in expenditures last year. And salaries and wages and benefits make up about 70% of expenditures for that fund. So, personnel is one of our biggest assets and resources. And when we look at our fund balance, it's important to remember when salaries, benefits, and wages make up 70%, we want some fund balance there for if revenues decrease or to get us by if we run into any difficult times. So like sales tax revenues, the first 2 months of FY25, each month was down 10% compared to last year.
And I know that you were investigating that, right, Jan and Julie? Any significant finding there on why our sales and use tax has been down? That's pretty significantly.
Yeah, we've been in communication with the state, and it comes down to a few individual filers. And some of it was credits or abatements, and some of it was timing. So if last year they paid multiple months at once, then we'd see a decrease this month. So now we'll keep that communication with the state and see if this is going to be a sustained decrease or if it's if it's just going to be a couple months. So we'll have to watch.
Now, it makes you pause. I mean, mine proceeds, those are paid, though, through the county, right? I mean, or is this what we're talking about?
Correct. We don't get mine.
We don't
Right, so it's not mining money.
No.
And is this public record, or I mean, is it fair, or can we share where the deficit's coming from? Do you know if it's public information?
We have industry codes, but we don't. The state hasn't.
The
They
votes.
won't say like.
Oh, they
which
don't tell us.
filer.
Okay,
No.
all right. Again, not trying to be like,
Yeah.
just trying to do our jobs here and let
Yeah.
people know what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of
okay.
their vague answers are leading us to believe that maybe or maybe we're hoping that it's a one-time credit, or that it's a one-time change, like Julie said. Like last year, they reported several months on 1 month when they were in arrears or something, and then this year it's not, because their answers keep saying it's due to they don't tell us what vendor, but it's due to a large decrease in a vendor. And so that leads us to be hopeful that maybe it's not going to be a sustained decrease. It will just be for a couple months. So.
All right. I know something that has been talked about in the business community is that if the mining companies do not receive their goods within city limits, that could also create a serious deficit, at least something we've been used to in the past. So, but we don't know if that's it, right?
No.
Right,
Okay.
we don't. And that's why it's nice when they have warehouses or, storage buildings or something within the city limits, because then the city of Elko does get the sales or use tax. But if it's outside in Lander or Eureka County, then obviously they get it.
All right. One thing to add, though, positively that maybe could help close this gap is that we do have the Sandvik facility, and then the other large warehouse near the police station, right? That receiving facility.
Correct. So that's why it's a little surprising that our sales and use tax is down, is because we do have so much construction going on in the city right now, especially commercial and industrial. That Sandvik building is it's huge, and there's a lot that goes into it. So
A lot of equipment's received there, too.
right, yeah, which will be great, for going forward. It's just not a one-time, it's just not a one-time sales use tax increase for the city of Elko, or even Elko County, or our community as a whole. But it should be a sustainable revenue source, so that'll be great.
All right.
Just
Jen.
like Komatsu.
Yes, yes, Komatsu.
We appreciate them so much.
Oh gosh, I had the pleasure of sitting near their table at the start, and no, I wasn't listening to conversations because we were having our own, but they were just such a jovial group, and they're so happy to be in Elko and Komatsu. I think they have regional meetings every 3 months, and they bring folks over and meet here in Elko, and there just seems, they told us anyway that they were ecstatic to be here. So,
Absolutely. Another
yeah.
reason why the airport is so important, to have industry come into our community and economic development.
Jan Baum is our city manager. Julie Davis is our financial services manager and director here in the city of Elko. And we were talking about the general fund. There was a decrease noted of about 9.7%. Julie, that's a clear explanation. It has to do with the ARPA funds, right?
Yes. So the spike in revenues in FY23 and 22 and 23 are from the one-time ARPA revenues. So our revenues will start leveling back out.
All right. And credit to the city for getting that ARPA money out right away to the
Absolutely. And actually, that's on the agenda today. We're hoping our final ARPA policy. So that it is very important, and it's part of the Treasury guidelines, that the ARPA money is obligated by December 31st, 2024. And so we got together and tried to get it all summarized and make sure we had that final obligation determined as of 12/31/24. So, and that means it has to have a PO. I mean, you have to know where it's going, and the subrecipients have to do that as well, which an NRH will be a subrecipient if council decides to extend them the $500,000 that they reserved for them back in 2022. So that's on the agenda as well.
Yeah, it would be hard pressed to explain why they wouldn't, because I know you were on hand, the mayor was on hand, city, county. It was a huge turnout for the dedication last Tuesday of the new behavioral health unit. It's not quite open yet. They've got a few more finishing touches, but what an amazing facility that's going to be for us.
What a gift to our community as a whole, and it's just such a need. I mean, to have some behavioral health or mental health issues, and to go to the ER and have to get flown out, and then you're trapped there when you get released because you're not trapped, but difficult to get home. And so this will just be such a great asset to our community.
Absolutely. So again, thanks to the city. We'll talk more about that, I'm pretty sure, in future programs. I know right now we're looking over the budget with Julie, and then looking at, did you want to talk maybe about the recreation fund? I guess that's included in your discussion today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, funded through room taxes.
It is. So room taxes increased in FY24 by about $440,000 or 10.5%. They had $180,000 in capital projects, which included maintenance equipment, a shade structure for the main city park, and snowball electrical upgrades for the lift.
So all this money is invested back into our amenities that we enjoy, not only as residents, but that we can entice more visitors with. So that's great news. The Recreation Fund continues to fund the Recreation Bond, and I believe that's $610,000 left on that, is what that. And that Recreation Bond, is that for California Trail Interpretive Center, or?
That was the transfer to fund the bond for FY24.
Oh, okay. So we have.
I believe it's the sports complex.
Oh, the
bond.
sports comp. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I did think we had the trail center paid off, but
Yeah.
okay, I digress. Okay, so that's good news because we know the next big thing may likely be the pickleball courts, right?
Absolutely. So we'll have to have James Wiley on this
Yes.
spring for sure, right before the summer, so we can talk about pickleball. But he does have a great 5-year plan. And in that 5-year plan, we're hoping in fiscal year 2026, which seems crazy we're even talking about it, but like Julie said before the show, that's where her brain is already, is in fiscal year 2026, and preparing for that budget. But pickleball is going to be in our recreation fund budget for 2026, and hopefully we can start that right away and get some more pickleball courts for our community.
All right. Well, Julie, also on the list, the Capital Construction Fund. And what exciting news. It looks like it's increased by about 12%.
Yeah, so revenue increased in the capital construction fund by about $340,000 or 12%, and that was due mostly to ad valorem revenues. And so the ad valorem made up $232,000 of that increase, and the $132,000 left was interest earnings.
And just so listeners are thinking, I don't remember an increase in property taxes. That was because we received, when the voters shifted the pay-as-you-go bonding, or the pay-as-you-go account to the county, and then the county, the cities could apply for a share of that, right, Jan? So that's where that comes from?
Yes, absolutely. And actually the year before that, you're testing my memory, and I should have looked at that. But the year before that, the city of Elko got a little bit more property tax as well, and I can't remember what fell off that created that. But that was not an increase in tax to our taxpayers. It was just a available percentage, and so we received a little bit. I want to say 12 cents or something, and then the next year, you're right, the pay-as-you-go fell off, and so a lot of that we have reserved for capital construction.
And either you or Julie are welcome to talk about some of those plans. Like you said, already looking forward to the projects in 2025, I guess, would that be? Or the completion of some of the other ones too. It's all in there.
Yeah, so expenditures are down in FY24 by about $1 million compared to 23. And that's because the Spruce Road improvements were completed in 23, and we're ramping up for the State Route 227 sidewalk project, the 12th Street Bridge rehab and the Water Street replacements. So those were in planning stages in 24. So that's the saving funds and planning for completion in 25.
All right. So capital construction has just over $6.2 million as of June, and but that money is destined to be spent.
Yes, very likely.
Yes.
So we have a couple projects on the horizon that we're trying to save funds for capital construction. There's a project that's been talked about for a few years, and who knows if it will come to fruition or not, but is the UP land that goes through the middle of town, and whether the city of Elko can purchase that. And then currently we're going through a design build for a new fire station or a secondary fire station, and then also a city hall. So there's a lot of capital projects that are on the horizon, and city council, once we have some of the planning done for these projects, then city council can definitely make recommendations on which way we go with that.
Oh, well, I always love having you guys on the show because it just gives us this great path of things that we get to talk about in the future, too, and things that we can look forward to as a community. And these are things that people have been planning on and the community's invited to participate in. Jan, the city is very transparent about all of these activities. So
We sure try to be. We
yeah.
try to be transparent for sure, because that's who pays our paychecks are the taxpayers, and that's what we're here for.
All right. Talking with Jan Baum, our city manager, and of course, Julie Davis, looking at maybe some of the other funds. We could talk about, or is there anything in the interest of time, Julie, that you want to make sure that listeners are aware of that really stand out on the audit this year?
No, I think I went over my main ones earlier. We will be starting, now that we have the final fund balance amounts, we'll be starting planning and budgeting with City Council, probably January, February. So this gives us updated information to start planning next year. And we're thinking of ways on how, it's a lot to look through the big audit report. So we're thinking of ways to get it kind of condensed and in a more visual, useful manner.
I might be a nerd, but I like this stuff. So
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, so the combined ending fund balance for the governmental fund is just over $47 million. Is that right, Julie? I was looking at page 10.
Okay, that's probably for all governmental funds.
All governmental funds, yep.
Yeah.
Because the fund balance is about half that, or less than half than that, just over 20 million. So
Yeah, so that would include the assets and everything. When those are the front statements are government-wide, so that's got depreciation and our buildings and assets in. So that's, let's see.
that's okay. We're both reading. It's small print here too, and,
It is.
and like Julie said, her head is already in next year, 2025. So I don't see anything surprising, I guess, is what we should be conveying to the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last thing I guess I would mention too is the proprietary funds, that's how they're classified in auditing terms, but we know them as the enterprise funds. The goal is that these be self-sufficient.
Yes.
And so we do see a couple of deficit areas if you wanted to talk about those, Julie, nothing unusual, I think. Maybe there's only one deficit area now that I see one little negative sign.
Yeah, so
I think that's by the airport.
it looks like it.
Yeah.
And that would include depreciation expense and everything as well.
Okay.
So that's not necessarily negative cash. It's negative net position once you back out the restrictions and the depreciation.
Okay, good to know. We're still on good terms to
Yes.
pay that everything off, get everything moving.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the airport, we actually did pay off their loan, their bond, I want to say a year and a half ago. And so the airport is still in good position, but it is something that we're watching because of the fewer flights that we have coming into Elko Regional Airport. Then we receive passenger we receive landing fees, and then we also get passenger facility charges. And so obviously the less amount of passengers there are, the less amount of revenue. And so that's another thing that we're definitely watching, and that extra flight a year will definitely help us with that.
Okay, good news on the horizon. Continue to fly, Elko. If I'm not mistaken, too, just by looking at what you're going to present, Julie, we might need to keep an eye on the landfill fund, the way it's trending, right?
They had some purchases.
So that's why it's down just a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot like a household budget, they might save net position for a few years, and that's the same with airport. Like their net position's not negative, just the change in net position for the last year. So a fund can save up funds for a large purchase and receive revenues 1 year, which would increase net position, and then you spend it and it goes back down. So it is fluid.
And we can end on a really happy note, too, in the enterprise fund is that look at the golf fund.
Right?
Yeah. Isn't that exciting?
Right. And I wanted to just quickly insert on the landfill. Remember, we increased the fees at the landfill. And so we were starting to feel that the fees weren't covering the labor and the costs at the landfill. And so we increased our fees. And so we should start rebounding with the additional fees and revenue from that.
All right. Good news. Yep. And then ending on that golf course with a fund of 10 months of operating expense in reserve. That's so much better than we've had even pretty recently. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, we have a great partnership up there. I'm sorry, I have to give my little commentary, but we have a great partnership up there right now with, we have Austin, who's doing a great job and was recognized at the last city council meeting. He and his team, they're just doing a great job. We have Rick Longhurst. His contract goes 1 more year, and we're so thankful that he gifted us with 3 years of his time and know-how and all in his energy. And then the club at Ruby View. Sorry about that, but it's done a good job too. And so I think all of those partners together have really helped with our golf course, and we're excited for the future.
Yeah, it's been a nice turnaround and a wonderful priority, and great to see people coming together to work positively toward that change. So.
Absolutely, it's a great team effort.
Well, Julie, thank you for giving us the update, and good luck at council today.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Council will always ask their questions, too, as they look over their summary. Just wanted to veer back quickly onto the agenda before we send you on your way. There is an interesting topic, which I got a little more up to date on just before we went on the air. Elko Heat Company has a proposal. They would like to expand their geothermal energy supply services within Elko city limits, or even Elko adjacent. So that's kind of cool.
Yes, I think they're planning for the future, and so currently their footprint or their area that they can do business or whatever is pretty small, and so they're looking to the future and they're putting in with the Public Utility Commission for an expanded service area. And so there is a letter of support for that on the agenda for council.
So again, just the consideration is outlined in the map that's included in the agenda materials. This could include the Sundance subdivision, which is west of Elko, which is not in the city limits, but it is serviced by city water. So that's a consideration. And then the area known as the Miller Ranch, which is also near exit 298, which for obvious reasons would make a nice place to supply with geothermal energy, especially in the case of manufacturing or some sort of large prospect or project. And then even closer or further along toward Bullion Road. And these are areas that are outside city limits, right, Jan?
Yes, those are areas that are very close to the city limits, but they are not in the city limits. And Sundance is a funny little area because it's almost surrounded by city, but it is not in the city limits. And I believe they're on their own septic system, so they won't likely get annexed into the city, but very close. And so we're going to work all together, and I believe that Elko County might have this same letter of support on their agenda coming next week.
Great. Well, I'm thinking about Sundance residents. I think they like to be independent. So
An independent group of people, and which is great. It's a great little subdivision within within our community.
Yep, nice that they can have water from the city, which they pay for, and then, as you said, their individual septic. So it gives them more of a rural feel with their properties. They have a little more room to spread out there at Sundance. So that will be considered again with Elko Heat Company, and whether or not they expand at any time soon. It's just something that they need to do before going to the Public Utilities Commission. We do know Elko Heat could likely, or I don't know if the city utility, what is the status on the swimming pool heat? Do we know, or do you know, Jan?
You know
I
what,
know it's
I
a Boys
really
and Girls
don't.
Club project.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And the last that I heard was the bids did come in, and with some of the public entities that pulled out of the geothermal project. And then, of course, I think the Elko County School District is still included, but maybe they don't have, the millions of dollars that I think that it would take. So as far as what I heard, and honestly, I haven't had any face-to-face conversation, but at a presentation that Rusty Barr gave was that this might be put on the back burner for a little bit, but the building will be plumbed for it and equipped for it. And so hopefully they can get that done, because I'm sure it'll help with their operating costs. I know it will.
It would be huge, huge. The city savings, the school district, the college, when they were all able to utilize. What's happened is that the public infrastructure of the geothermal system has deteriorated. Yes, and so it's very, very expensive. And I mean, just bringing up this Elko Heat Company, is there a possibility they would be interested in or could purchase that utility?
Right. I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I think that it's great to generate ideas.
Yeah. It's currently it's maintained or managed by the school district, right, Jan? The separate utility. Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Julie
The
knows that too.
geothermal group, which
Yes.
Julie would know that.
And I don't, so the city is not on it, and I don't believe the college is on it. I don't think it ever worked sufficiently enough for the college. I think that's when they started to detect the problems. And I guess the high school might still be on it, or areas of.
You know what? I'm really not
I know.
sure.
I don't.
We'll have
I
to
don't
have-
think it's running at the moment.
Oh,
but
unfortunately. Okay.
there's a few entities, including the school, that would be, glad if it can get back working one
They
day.
can rehabilitate it for
Yeah.
sure.
Julie, thank you for reminding me. I should have deferred to Julie because you came from the school district, so you're very
did.
familiar with this system, so thank you.
No problem.
I'm sure the school district misses you. I'm sure they have a great replacement, but you were very valuable to the school district, and now you're just as invaluable to us here at the, yes.
Oh,
we
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Yes.
I'm glad to be here.
Valuable, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I'll second that. Third
Yes,
that.
definitely. All right. Speaking of, let's send you to your council meeting. That starts at 4:00 this afternoon. There'll be other items on the agenda. Anything that we didn't miss? I know there's going to be an update on Shady Elms, that poor project. Wow. But hopefully there's some great progress to report for the residents there. And anything else, I guess we can catch up on next Tuesday.
Absolutely. I just want to say one last time that Julie Davis did an amazing job with the City of Elko audit and budget, and we're thankful to have her, and she just does a great job for us. So thank you for being here.
Yes, and thank you. And again, congratulations, Julie. And that is high praise, not only coming from Jan because she's the city manager, but she used to do your job. So she knows exactly how hard it is.
Well, I'm very glad to be here.
So thank you. Thanks, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today. We really appreciate your continued support of our local community radio station.